It was a bright spring morning when HOA Karen decided to escalate her pattern of harassment once again. This time, she attempted to assert control by sending police over a $1,500 fine she claimed I owed for supposed HOA violations. The fine arrived with aggressive language, threats of property liens, and even hints at arrest if payment was not made immediately. Karen, as usual, assumed her self-imposed authority would compel compliance. What she didn't anticipate, however, was that I was fully prepared to counter her theatrics and had evidence proving that I was not even a member of the HOA. I calmly reviewed the fine and accompanying documentation. There were no records showing my membership, no signed agreements, and no legal standing for the fine. Instead of reacting emotionally, I compiled all relevant proof: property deeds, tax records, correspondence with the HOA, and official records confirming I had never joined. Every detail was meticulously documented to prepare for a confrontation that I anticipated would escalate. When Karen arrived at my property, waving the $1,500 fine and shouting threats, I met her calmly. I presented all my evidence in a clear, organized manner, showing that I was not a member of the HOA and therefore had no obligation to pay. Her face contorted in disbelief. She had assumed that fear, volume, and intimidation could override fact and law. Refusing to accept defeat, Karen attempted to involve the police, insisting that they enforce her baseless claims. I calmly explained the situation to the responding officers, providing them with all documentation that proved my non-membership. The authorities quickly recognized that Karen's threats had no legal standing. Her claim of $1,500 in fines was immediately dismissed, and she was warned that any further harassment could result in legal consequences against her personally. Neighbors and onlookers, many of whom had witnessed Karen's repeated attempts at intimidation, were amazed at how effectively the situation had been handled. Her efforts to assert control through threats had completely backfired, and her credibility in the community suffered another blow. She had underestimated both preparation and the authority of lawful documentation. I didn't stop at simply defending myself. To ensure there would be no future attempts to assert false claims, I proactively strengthened my legal position by updating all property records and filing notices confirming that I was not a member of the HOA. This made any future attempts by Karen to collect fines or assert authority entirely futile. By the end of the day, the $1,500 fine had no effect. My property remained secure, and HOA Karen had been publicly humiliated. The incident became another clear example of the power of preparation, evidence, and calm authority against arrogance and intimidation. Reflecting on the event, it was obvious that Karen had misjudged both the law and my readiness. She relied entirely on assumed power and aggressive tactics, failing to anticipate the power of documentation, evidence, and lawful strategy. What she intended as a show of dominance turned into yet another public lesson in overreach and failure. By evening, my property was safe, HOA Karen's credibility diminished, and the lesson was clear. Baseless fines and threats are powerless when confronted with preparation, legal authority, and calm, strategic action.